This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily for this Wednesday afternoon. Going to be a heater out in Winnipeg today. Potential thunderstorms in and around the area. So wherever you are, stay cool, stay hydrated, and stay with us here on Winnipeg Sports Talk, whether you're with us live on YouTube or listening a little later on the podcast. For the YouTube folks, you know what to do. Hit that like button. Make sure you have already hit the subscribe button and join us daily here at 1 o'clock. And to everyone listening on the podcast, we appreciate you making us a part of your day. If you do have the opportunity to give a 5-star rating and a little review, it certainly helps the podcast grow, and we appreciate the support. Speaking of support, thanks to all of our great sponsors: Royal Sports, the Nick and Nicky DQ Group, Not Auto Corp, Little Brown Jug, Breezy Bend, PolicyMe.com, Boston Pizza, Aikens Lake, Assiniboia Downs, and our betting partner, Coolbet Canada. We've got a lot to get to today. Of course, the excitement grows for the Canadian Football League's return, and we'll talk with Bomber star linebacker Adam Bighill about the news on Monday that we got the green light for the season, the potential of having fans or even a full building at some point this year, and his preparation to get ready for training camp coming up next month, and the upcoming 14-game season and the attempt to run it back as Grey Cup champions again. And of course, for those watching live on YouTube, you will notice I'm wearing a collar, I think for the first time in about a year. Stepping it up, had to put the golf shirt on, was on the Coolbet station earlier today talking U.S. Open, and we are going to have a final U.S. Open preview with Reid Fowler of DraftKings. Love talking to Reid. We'll get his thoughts on the tournament, and we'll hopefully help finish up our picks for our DraftKings pool. Speaking of which, I know Remis will throw the link in later on when we talk to Reid Fowler, but if you're in our DraftKings league, make sure to go in, click on the league, check open contests. Got about 10 spots left for the U.S. Open contest. It's $3, top 5 paid. Had a lot of fun doing those for regular tournaments and regular games, but the majors always bring out the biggest field. So if you want to get in, do that today before it fills. Let's get Remis in here before we talk to Adam Bighill. Remo, what's going on? Great to have you on the program, my friend, as always. And, oh, man, there's not much going on outside, but I'll tell you what, there certainly is a lot going on right now in sports. We've got Blue Jays every night, Stanley Cup playoffs, NBA playoffs, and a lot of excitement about the CFL. And it makes for a lot of things to discuss, even though the Winnipeg Jets are now done for the season and have moved on.
How's it going? Yeah, the Euros going on, hockey off-season, a rumor mill starting up, coaching carousel. We'd even touch on Gerard Gallant getting hired by the Rangers, seeing rumors about a certain Buffalo Sabres star player who's trending on Twitter right now. We got NBA playoffs, some big injuries happening. As you said, CFL, I said Euro, MLB Blue Jays, bullpen issues continuing to plague that team. So there is a variety of topics to get to, as you know, the next big event in the NHL is, the Stanley Cup Finals, but also the expansion draft for off-season discussion.
Oh, yes, the expansion draft. We'll have plenty of expansion draft talk, I'm sure, heading into the date. Can tell you that Wales has beaten Turkey 2-0 in the Euro. And I do have a mea culpa, somewhat of embarrassing moment, and I noticed this on the replay yesterday. I was all excited talking to Kevin O about the Portugal game. And I'm like, oh, that's great. Yeah, that's the under 2.5. And then I saw on the on the chat that unfortunately I wasn't fortunately I wasn't looking at as I talked to Kevin O, explained to me that Ronaldo had not only scored in the 86th minute to make it 2-0, but also scored 2 minutes into extra time to make it 3-0 for a big fat L for yours truly on the total. However, had some other good results. We had a nice night in the lock shop yesterday, and I'm looking forward to the Italy game this afternoon and on Forza Italia. And we'll certainly have a guest coming up in the next few days talking more about the Euro as we get into the tournament. But Remo, I do want to talk about a number of these NHL topics that we got to a minute ago. But let's start off with the news that Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe has come out today announcing that he wants Mosaic Stadium full for the Riders' home games, especially the opener on Friday, August the 6th. We're talking about the potential of 30,000+ fans at the building in Saskatchewan. And listen, I know our two provinces are in a little bit of a different situation right now, but I can't help but be optimistic knowing that, our neighbors to the west are going in that direction. Our numbers continue to go down. We know the plan called for as much as 50% come August long weekend and 100% in September long weekend. And if that is the case and we can follow the path of these other provinces, we may in fact be able to get a full house at some point this season for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
Yeah, I saw the reports today from Scott Billick and Bartley Kivas and all the reporters here doing such a great job at keeping us up to date. I mean, we'll see. It seems like we're going to be hitting, certain targets for the number of vaccinations. I know our case counts are still really high. I think our active cases per 100 or whatever the ratio is double Saskatchewan. So they're in a bit of a better position, but I think we're trending in the right direction. And, maybe things will be going a bit better than we maybe thought it was going to be. So we'll wait and see. But you got to be, if Saskatchewan's doing, we got to hop on board. They can't have something that we don't have.
Well,
right?
No, and no, that's exactly right. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to do this for those of you watching on YouTube or listening. I'm going to try and crank this take into a nice little short burst that maybe we can throw on the gram or something like that. Remis, I'm going to, this is all about coming up with what is to come. Here we go. So Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe has said they're going to have a full house for the Riders' potential home opener on August 6th. Now, I realize Manitoba might not be in that situation, but considering the 4-3-2-1 great summer plan we heard about, potentially 50,000 fans if we get to the thresholds for August long weekend and 100% of fans for Labor Day weekend. We absolutely need to do that. Now, there's lots of reasons, and I won't get into all of the vaccine talk, but listen, we all want to be reopened. We all want to be at games, and we all want to have a full house as soon as possible for the Blue Bombers. Why this is extra important is the Banjo Bowl would be the first game with 100% capacity. And can you think of a better way to celebrate the Grey Cup Championship, which Wade Miller has said it will not be celebrated until they can do it properly, and that is with the full stadium. For the Banjo Bowl with 33,000 fans, mostly in blue and gold, but for those of our friends wearing green and white coming from Saskatchewan to IG Field to see the game, the green and white fans will have a perfect opportunity to be front and center along with 30,000+ Bomber fans watching that Grey Cup banner go up. I can't think of a better way to get back to normal, to have a first full house at Winnipeg Stadium than to do it for the Banjo Bowl and to raise the Grey Cup banner in a full house on that day. Pause. Okay, what do you think about that, Reem? I think this needs to happen.
Well done, Huss. Well done. We'll have to chop that thing up and
practicing takes for the internet. We're in the content business here, folks, and but honestly, I really do believe that. I mean, we talked a little bit about it yesterday as we got these plans going forward. But the minute I heard what's happening in Saskatchewan, and mainly when what we heard from our own government about the plan to go forward, to me, that day, Banjo Bowl, following the Labor Day long weekend, if we can get to these goals, to me, that's what I'm looking most forward to. Never mind being able to, attend games in person at the rink downtown for Winnipeg Jet games and junior hockey, the ice, the Gold Eyes whenever they can come back, Assiniboia Downs, all of that. But honestly, Remo, I do believe that a full house for the Banjo Bowl and a celebration of the 2019 Grey Cup Championship would be a seminal moment in the return for Winnipeg, for Manitoba, for sports, but also our community as a whole. I can't imagine anything that would be bigger than that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, the one thing that's, through the down times, the one thing that's, get me really excited, and I've talked about this, is just the celebrations that are going to happen. When, you can have a packed house at IG Field, or I was thinking about, being at the first full Jets game. And these are things, a year ago seemed pretty far away, but now, you're reading the news every day. It's easy to get optimistic and almost get like goosebumps. We're seeing the first, concerts come back. So I think we're a bit, maybe behind what's going on in the States, but we're close, man. And the CFL,
kind of.
the CFL announcement is very exciting. And the idea of Saskatchewan having a full stadium means, hey, we can definitely get there as well.
No doubt. Hey, everybody. A shout out to everybody in the chat. Great to see everyone here early. I got to give a shout out to Samuel22. Now, Samuel, I believe, was in here mixing it up, repping Le Bleu, Blanc et Rouge of the Montreal Canadiens during the series. And most of the Habs fans took off. I'm sure they've got new targets in Vegas. But Sam's in here every day. So welcome, Sam. It's great to have you normally with us. Sandy and G, Jet Oil Tom, the whole gang. We got a hello from Grand Forks as well today. Looking for that. Lots of people looking forward to seeing Adam Bighill. Hi, Leslie. Hey, Valerie. Great to have you. George Penner. Everyone joining us on the chat. And brown-eyed girl MJD. She's got a busy day. Little office casual today. We'd like to hear it. Great to have you as well. And of course, our man, Owen Catelli. Great to have you in on the program as well. Thanks to everyone for joining us. And I'm getting some comments, people enjoying the promo. Yeah, it was never big. It's the wrestling background. Sometimes you can kind of put things together, look at the camera and try and spit it out. It's all those years of watching the WWE over the years. Anyways, lots of fun to get to. Welcome to everyone that's with us. Adam Bighill coming up in about 10 minutes or so, a little bit less. Remo, we'll obviously get back to the CFL talk and discuss a lot of topics going into next season with Adam Bighill going forward. But I do want to hit on the National Hockey League from last night. My biggest takeaway as the Lightning evened the series was that, and you hate to do this, but this was just a terrible night for the officials. We hadn't talked a ton about refereeing unless like Bruce Cassidy was pleading his case that, the Islanders are the New York Saints. But I mean, two instances last night were crazy. One, the penalty to Braden Point, who got absolutely smoked into Varlamov by the Islander defenseman, was insane. I don't think there's any way, and even John Cooper afterwards, said that it completely made no sense. They did get one back, though, courtesy of the officials, when they scored a goal to go up 2-1 with 7 players on the ice. Now, I was stunned that wasn't reviewable. I mean, you couldn't challenge that. And that, I would imagine, is something that probably will change at some point soon. But to have a goal in the Stanley Cup playoffs in the Final Four scored, that is so monumental. I mean, you think about how important these goals are in games that the Islanders are playing. Listen, it probably wasn't the difference in the game. I think Tampa was the better team, but certainly Barry Trott's not pleased afterwards. And I'm sure the guys running the officials department hoping that group will have a much better game the next time they get on the ice. Because coming out of the game last night, we talked about a 1-1 series, and the big stories all had to do with the guys wearing stripes.
Yeah, I mean, I was on, on social media. All you could see is screenshots of Steven Stamkos in the box getting a penalty for being named Steven. I think that was the number one meme yesterday.
Yeah, well, shout out to Ava. I think it was our girl Ava that dropped that one. And then, of course, it got stolen by Spitting Chicklets and a lot of other people. So as angry as that is when people steal your content, it happened to me when I took the picture of that girl in the 300 level wearing the standing 69 jersey. That got ripped off and thrown on a Barstool account or Spitting Chicklets. So there's not a lot of scruples when it comes to the mean streets of the internet. But yes, our girl, Ava, doing a great job. The meme queen, if you will. And now getting noticed as it's getting stolen. But 2 minutes for being named Steven. Nice work, Ava.
That was up there. The Braden Point penalty is ridiculous. I mean, it's pretty clear that he got shoved, lost his balance, and went into Varlamov. I don't know, like, if you're an official on the ice, how you missed that. And I don't know how, I mean, on a penalty that is so obviously the incorrect call, how there isn't someone buzzing down and being like, hey, guys, you really messed up here. That is not a penalty. Or is it just another case, Huss, where they're just going by the result? The goalie gets knocked over. Braden points on top of him. Oh, he must have done something wrong. It was a penalty. I'm pretty sure that's just what it was. Just looking at the result and awarding penalties from it. And then the seven people. That was I saw a lot of jokes that, one of them must have been on LTIR, right, Huss? That must have been it. They're allowed to have more on the ice because he was on LTIR during the regular season. So
they're cap compliant. They're cap compliant. No, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Oh, that is great. Yeah. Oh man. Well, listen, we've got a series, and listen, we were going to have it no matter what, even if the Islanders were up 2-0 going back home. That was a big win for Tampa. I was telling you off air, and we spent some time yesterday when we were doing the Coolbet lines, looking at the lines for the series, which after the Islanders won game one had dropped to Tampa -103 as a slight underdog, and the Islanders -114. We'll figure out what that number is later on today. I guarantee you it shifted heavily in favor of the Tampa Bay Lightning. But if you did like the Lightning at that point, and I'm cheering for the Islanders. I don't have any skin in the game on this. I thought long and hard about jumping on Tampa. Didn't, though. We're going to save that for some U.S. Open picks with Reid Fowler a little bit later on today. But Tampa's back in this. You've got 1-1 series heading to Long Island in the Coliseum for games coming up for games 3 and 4. Meanwhile, tonight, Reem, we go back at it. Vegas and the Montreal Canadiens. And this, I'd imagine, a huge opportunity for Montreal. And really, it's hard to say game 2 being, a desperate or, an urgent point. At some point, they've got to win in Vegas. I really like the start that the Montreal Canadiens had in the first period, but I think as the game played out, Vegas flexed their muscles and proved that they were the superior team. Carey Price wasn't able to bail out the Montreal Canadiens, and I don't expect the Habs to win, but I will say this. If they can play the way they did in the first 12, 13 minutes of that game for 60, they'll have a better chance to do it. Number one thing is, where's Josh Anderson right now? Like, Anderson had a goal in game number 1. I mean, I really thought he was going to be a real impactful playoff performer. I mean, even in the series against Winnipeg, we haven't seen much. And when you think about the size and the speed of the Vegas Golden Knights, this is exactly why Bergevin traded for Josh Anderson. You would think that they might be able to get a little bit more from him, because frankly, if they don't, and there's a few other guys as well that need to step up, you can't just rely on Carey Price against a team like the Vegas Golden Knights.
Yeah, and we're waiting to hear about Jeff Petrie. Dominic Ducharme, Habs head coach, said today it's possible he could play tonight, and he had that finger injury in the series versus the Jets where he fell and his finger got caught in the camera hole and got dislocated. And I saw Mark Bergevin, a video of him in the pregame just going up to one of those camera holes and I guess taking it out and putting it back in. As someone who has had experience sitting in that camera hole, I can tell you, when the action is coming at you fast, it is nearly impossible to get that thing closed quickly. You got to, put it through at the right angle and turn it. So I don't fault anyone. Maybe there is a way they can make those safer, an easier closing mechanism like a window or something. But that is a tough break for Jeff Petrie and the Habs. So we will see tomorrow. I mean, that would be huge if he came back. They were definitely missing him last night. His offensive ability, it was a two-way game, and just giving them that top 4 that was able to shut down the Jets so well with Edmondson, Weber, and Sherratt. Vegas maybe a bit of a tougher test the way they're going, but anytime you can get a guy back like that skill level, huge benefit to your team.
No doubt about it. Listen, we've got more hockey topics to get to. Jack Eichel trade rumors, potential destinations as well coming out of Pierre LeBrun's report today. Gerard Gallant getting a new NHL gig with the Rangers. We'll hit that later on as well. We've got Adam Bighill coming up in just a second. Before we get into that, do want to tell you about PolicyMe.com. PolicyMe is an online life insurance company that allows Canadians to buy term life insurance in minutes, 100% online at the most affordable price. Listen, this is not a sexy purchase. This is not something everyone's excited to go out and get, but it's incredibly necessary. If you have children, a family that depends on you, investments for things like a house, you need to be able to cover yourself if something happens to you and you've got some serious financial needs. Now, it's not a fun operation normally, awkward meetings with people you don't know, going through some information you'd like to keep that to yourself. That's why Policy Me was created, offering the most affordable rates, roughly 10 to 20% lower than under other insurers in Canada. And the best part about it, in addition to the rates, it's 100% online. It's simple. You go onto the site, you fill out a number of questions. You'll find out if you're approved for coverage almost instantly instead of waiting weeks like other companies. And most people don't require a medical exam. And the bottom line is this is an easy, straightforward process. What traditionally takes weeks and can involve confusing paperwork and insurance jargon can now be done in about 15 minutes through an easy to understand application. It's all right there at PolicyMe.com. It's quick, it's easy, it's a great rate, and you'll be able to sleep at night knowing you and your family's future is protected no matter what happens. Go to PolicyMe.com, and when they ask how you found about Policy Me, please make sure you click on podcast. The Royal Sports guys are rocking right now. We've got a big Euro game this afternoon with Italy playing. We saw some great Forza Italia gear. Spain, France, Germany, all the big teams from Euro. The new kits are in at Royal Sports right now. Not to mention, if you're planning on playing the game outside, soccer boots, cleats, everything to do with summer, being outside, Royal Sports has it. But an incredible selection of Euro merch, which is selling hot right now as everyone's fired up for this big tournament. Pop down and see our friends at Royal Sports. Check out the fitness section, the bikes that are coming in weekly despite a worldwide bicycle shortage, and of course, all that great camping gear as you get ready for summer. 650 Rally EK, 750 Pembina Highway. It is the Royal Sports Superstore on Pembina Highway. Big thanks to the Royal guys. And with it expected to get to 32 degrees today, may I suggest a blizzard. It's always blizzard time, but especially in conditions like this. The Nick and Nicky DQ Group, great sponsors of Winnipeg Sports Talk, Dairy Queen Niverville, Dairy Queen Northgate, DQ Polo Park, and the DQ on St. Anne's. Pop by there, try the Drumstick Blizzard, the Kit Kat Blizzard, which is back, as Nick has just told us. All the great burgers and treats they've got as well. And if you're planning an event sometime soon, hit Nick and Nicky up on Instagram at DQ Manitoba. Get that cake order going in before you even show up and go and pick it up from one of the 4 stores. Thanks again to Nick and Nicky DQ for their support of the program. All right, let's get down to business. Can't wait to chop it up with Bombers star linebacker Adam Bighill coming off the big news that it is a green light. We are going 14 games, CFL season. Opening game, Grey Cup rematch, Bombers Ticats, August 5th at IG Field. And Adam Bighill joins us now. What's going on, boss? How you doing? It's great to have you back on the show.
Yeah, no, good to be here. This is a nice new format you got going.
Hey, I appreciate it. It was sort of a rough little time for all of us in the industry, but we've sort of settled here, and the reaction has been amazing. And I'll tell you what, I'm really glad that we are doing it on a daily basis because while the hockey season's over, we've got a football season coming up. We've got a sports craze city that needs this content on a daily basis. And listen, the excitement levels are as high as they've been. I think the optimism in the community, despite where we're at right now. Let me just ask for you from a player's standpoint, and we'll get to everything that happened before. Sunday night going into Monday, with everything that you, the CFLPA, has been through, how confident were you that we were going to get this good news, that it was going to be approved, we're going ahead with the season as per everything you and the PA negotiated with Randy Ambrosie and did the deal that was sent to the owners?
I was pretty confident. We understand where we're at as a league, as players, and that, if we didn't play this year, that it very well could have been catastrophic for several teams. And nobody wants to have that happen. And I think everybody understands the importance of CFL in Canada. And So, I mean, going into Monday, I anticipated the Board of Governors to do the right thing and proceed with the season, and I couldn't be more excited.
Now, Adam, you as a veteran player are probably in a better position because of the star nature, the contract in the back, you and your family doing well. This is a really, really tough time, though, for many of the rank and file members of the Canadian Football League, both members of the Bombers and players around the league. How would you categorize the work that the PA did, that you guys as players did, coming together to make this happen?
Yeah, I mean, it's been tough. It's been tough for everybody in Canada. It's been tough for people in pro sports and the CFL, no different. I'd say across the board, we reached a very fair deal to be able to get back and play ball. And, I think it's something that we as PA are very excited about, and I think our players are excited about. Is it ideal? Is it perfect? No. I mean, obviously, teams are spending to the minimum of the salary cap this year as allowed per the CBA. And, for example, that cost me a huge contract restructure, right? So, I took a big brunt of it, but for being here in Winnipeg and being in a championship team and city, it meant something to me, and having another career here as well. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it's not perfect. Some guys got affected more than others, but we're all doing it because we love the game and want to get back to playing the great game of football.
Adam Bighill of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers with us here on Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. The countdown is on to August 5th. Bombers and Ticats to kick off the CFL season after a year off. Have you talked to many of your teammates over the past couple days? What are you hearing from the boys in the locker room about their reaction and their level of excitement to put everything behind them and get back on the football field where they love to be?
Yeah, no, I've heard from quite a few guys, especially just leading up to Monday's decision, and guys just kind of getting a feel for where things are going. And, you got to think a lot of the guys, guys are playing football are people too. We got livelihoods, got, affairs got to get in order. You just want to have their mind wrapped around a vision and a plan of what they want to execute and timing. So there's been a lot of communication with guys, and overall the message is everyone's excited to get back and play ball because, it's such an amazing game and unlike any other game out there. So, guys are definitely excited to come back and play.
Adam, how much through all of this, we know how tight-knit the Bomber team was and the organization, how close, especially players like yourself are with the coaching staff and management. How much contact have you been with them over the course of the last little while? And has that been somewhat constant throughout the pandemic?
I guess the way to explain it is that, coordinator have been in touch with players, just checking in. Like Richie's been in touch with everybody on defense, and I'm sure Buck has on the offense. And so definitely keeping connected. There's only so much you can do in the offseason. Overall the message was, hey, just hang in there. We anticipate getting back to playing, and when we do, let's get ready to roll. So the coaches are just as hungry as the players, because they love coaching. So, they've been excited to get back just like we have been. And, they kind of just been staying in touch, letting us know how excited they are to get back.
Now, Adam, I couldn't help but notice the Instagram that you popped out earlier this week. It looked like you were ready to start the season tomorrow. Are you already, have you basically been working out as if you were going to be coming on? Where is all that at right now? And what are the next weeks like for you before training camp officially begins here in Winnipeg from a training standpoint?
Yeah. You got to think I've been ready to play a season now for well over a year. After we won the Grey Cup, I was back training 2 weeks afterwards, right? Training for me is year round. It's nonstop. You go through different phases of different kinds of intensities and training structures and so forth like that. But no doubt about it. I've been hitting it hard and I'm ready to go. My body feels better than ever. And, you take a year and a half off from hitting, like you get all these little things that just heal up. So all players should be feeling better. I definitely do. I'm looking forward to it being one of the best years of my career in a 14-game season.
It's funny you mention that because I was listening to Zach Caleros yesterday on one of the calls. They were playing it on OB on the sports show at night, and it was interesting to hear him as a quarterback talk about what the time off was like. And, obviously the quarterback entire job is trying not to get hit. Your job is hitting someone on every single play. How beneficial to a player like you that is always out there, that's playing every down, that does everything for a football team with the wear and tear that comes with that? Like, from a personal standpoint, how beneficial can that be to you this season and for your longevity in the league that you did have that time off?
I kind of mentioned it's just like, my body hasn't felt this good and I can't remember when. So granted, no doubt about when you get back, the soreness coming back is going to be more intense just because it is going to be more unfamiliar, but you really are starting from such a higher level of health and regeneration that can only bode well for a season. So, I think guys are in general going to be feeling that and going to be, firing on all cylinders. So, I think it's a great thing.
Adam Bighill with us here on Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Adam, there's a lot, there's going to be changes on all teams, of course. That would happen naturally. It would happen even more so when you go through a pandemic. But that being said, I think the Bombers, coming off of that championship in 2019, did everything they could to keep that core intact of the club. There's no preseason games this year. It's a very unique situation. Do you think that will help the Winnipeg Blue Bombers when you guys kick off against the Ticats in game number 1 and maybe help the team earlier on in the season? Or is it just it's been so long since everybody played, it pretty much is an even playing field?
Well, I still feel like, your veteran experience doesn't leave you, so, we're still able to use that to our advantage. And even more so because you have been off for a while. At the end of the day, your knowledge base of the game is going to be right there. And then you're going to have, 1 or 2 practices to get the speed back. And then compared to teams that don't have as much veteran experience, they're going to have to learn how to manage the situation and learn to play fast again and put those together. So I do feel like we're going to have an advantage from that standpoint right away. Longer training camp means we got, more time together to focus on getting ready for a hot start out the gate in week 1. And I think that's so important to get started fast in a year like this with less games. And, that's going to be what I'm preaching. That's what my focus is for the team, is to be able to start fast and take every single day through training camp to move towards being the best team we can week 1.
Adam, what did you think when you saw that schedule and saw the Hamilton Tiger Cats coming to the Peg for game number 1?
It's the only way to do it. I'm sure they're itching to get back at us, and you want to test your mettle against the best of the best. And, the CFL is an interesting league where, teams can show up and really compete and give you a run for your money every single week. But yet, there's teams that prove to be on an elite level year in and year out, and Hamilton has been one of those teams. So it'll be a great test and a great start for us, and I'm really excited for it.
Now, I have to ask you, I know you're being an NFL veteran, being a football guy. I'm sure you paid close attention to what was happening in the National Football League last year when you guys weren't playing, and seeing the games played in stadiums, mainly without fans, and then the return of fans at some point in some smaller numbers as we went through. And now we're seeing these hockey rinks south of the border packed for the playoffs. How much have you thought about how amazing it's going to be to get back out in front of the faithful of the blue and gold, especially considering, with the exception of the parade, there has been no chance for the fans here to really, at the stadium, welcome you guys back as Grey Cup champions?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple things there, right? It's obviously getting to celebrate that banner dropping in the stadium and being able to, commemorate that 2019 season. That's going to be one thing that's going to obviously be very special. We've been waiting to do. But to take it over the top, it's just the fact that we've been so far away from real life for so long now that people can't wait to get back to doing the things we did before, being closer to people, connecting with people, being able to go to events, enjoy themselves, and not worry about the things we have been worrying about. So those are the things that I'm looking forward to for everybody, just because I know how important that's going to be for us, and I know how important that is for everybody else too. So that's going to take it over the top.
Let me ask you this. Speaking of raising that Grey Cup banner and celebrating the championship with the fans here, Wade Miller was quite clear a few months ago that, as optimistic as we are about getting the football team back on the field, that banner would not be celebrated and raised until there was a full house. We talked about this a little earlier on the show today. The reopening plan, hopefully, if things go well, I believe would be 50% of fans for August long weekend, which would include the month of August, the first couple of home games. But the 100% threshold, if we get to those numbers, would be Labor Day weekend, which of course means the first game back with a full house potentially would be the Banjo Bowl against the Saskatchewan Roughriders. It's already the highlight of the regular season for fans. But Adam, could you imagine a better environment to raise that banner to celebrate the Grey Cup championships than against the Saskatchewan Roughriders, with a few people in green having the privilege of watching the champions roll it up, and of course another 31 or 32,000 in blue and gold welcoming the champs back onto the field before the biggest game of the regular season?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I get chills thinking about it. So I imagine everybody else does too. So I couldn't imagine the better way to do it, providing the circumstances we are in right now. So yeah, I'm hyped. I'm hyped for that right now.
I am too. Just thinking about it. Just thinking about getting back there. Let me ask you this: now that we know what's happening going forward, providing nothing calamitous doesn't happen, and I guess considering the last couple of years, we'll cross our fingers on that. But where are you right now as far as how difficult was this for you? And do you kind of feel like you, as an athlete, as a dad, as a professional, or sort of through the toughest times, and we are going to a pretty exciting new chapter here for you personally, the football team, and really the community, which sports is such a big part of?
Yeah, I always am an optimistic guy, and I try to make the best out of every situation there ever is, because, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, that's the only way you can move forward as well as possible. I mean, if you're letting situations bring you down or not allowing you to move forward, for me, I just feel like that's missed opportunity for myself, or missed growth and overall happiness. So, I mean, I try to make the best of every situation, and without ignoring the fact that it's been hard. Like, it has been the hardest year and a half of my life, my family's life. Very stressful, so many different changing dynamics, but still staying focused on doing the best we can and making the best of it, so that it's all worth it. And then when we come out of this, it's light is right here at the end of the tunnel, and the fact that it's going to get better and we're going to be better for it. So that's kind of where my focus has been, really, as a dad, a husband, a business, running a business and playing football. I mean, it's the only way to go.
Well, and you know what, I will say, I mean, it was really impressive to have you on back with us in our old home, kind of when we were getting into this, kind of everyone was figuring out what is next, hoping that things were going on. You in the off seasons had already been really working very hard on, what will become of yourself after football as a professional. How has everything gone on the other side of the working Adam Bighill?
Yeah. So, I mean, as a financial advisor with Wellington Altus here in the city, I mean, it's been going great. I mean, I'm on a great team with Charlie Sparring. So, one, I have a lot of great mentorship, but two, I mean, I have an ability to do what I love, and that's just help people. The fact is, I believe our firm is best suited to be able to help clients and create custom portfolios and unique strategies that aren't available to them elsewhere. And I mean, the complete amount of flexibility we have to service a client and put clients' best interests first, those are the things that I, as an investor, when I was young, were looking for, and the reasons why I got in the industry, because I didn't have these kinds of solutions that I needed. More or less was wasted time and money and opportunity, and that's why I got into the industry, so I can help people not make the same mistakes that I did. And so I've really enjoyed being able to get a full year into doing this full time, and now, kind of stepping back into football and kind of managing at the same time. I'm excited to do that. But I mean, it's been great to build another career alongside here.
You know what? I've always been fascinated by people, how maybe playing different sports helps them at other things. Let me ask you this. I mean, as a leader on the Bombers, doing something so different, being in financial, but working on a team. I mean, is there any things that you have learned or grown in the other side of your professional life that can help you be a better football player or a member of the Bombers?
It's a good question. I think you see things. I see things in two different lights because football, it's like, you need answers now. You need solutions now. You need everyone pulling together and getting things done right away. The urgency is very, very high. The stress obviously can be very, very high. The professional world, there's a lot of expectations, but, the amount of stress and urgency in the same kind of light is not quite the same. But yet expectations in other ways are still very, very high. So kind of looking and being part more of a corporate team, you kind of see some of the differences in how business is managed, how it's looked at, how risk is mitigated, how kind of different communication channels happen. And you can kind of take that back and I take stuff from the football world and bring it to the office. And I can take stuff now from the office, kind of bring it back to the football world. And I found that to be unique. And obviously, it's a reason why so many people like hiring ex-athletes, because of the innate ability and nature that they have with work ethic and ability to just grind and learn and apply themselves and not have anyone have to give them a rah-rah speech to do it. And, so for me, it's been fun taking obviously sports to business as well, because of, I just feel like my work ethic is going to be unmatched.
Adam, just on the way out, I got to ask you a couple questions about coming up to camp. We all know that, veteran players such as yourself, you're not usually really fired up to get going with training camp. I mean, you're already in impeccable shape. You want to go out there and hit somebody and play some games. Will this be different for you and the veteran players? I mean, will it be a different feeling getting back into that locker room and getting out there for the first day of camp than maybe a normal year in the past?
I think it has to, just because, like they always say, you don't know how much you love something until it's gone. Every football player is going to feel that coming back. And the thing I've learned from veterans that have left the game is the things they say they miss the most. It's the locker room. It's being around the guys. It's being able to have those moments and build those relationships. And those are the things they take with them for the rest of their lives. And, they don't necessarily remember the scores of all the games or remember all the plays they might have made, but they remember how people made them feel, and they remember the experiences that they had. So I know everybody is missing the locker room and that connection and that feeling and that brotherhood. And obviously I think there's going to be a lot of anticipation and excitement to get back on the field, whether you're a rookie or a veteran. I mean, I'm always excited for camp. I love practicing. I love football. So for me, I always love to do it. But I mean, once again, when you haven't been doing it for a while, you're so thankful to be back, and it's just going to be that much better.
What'll day one be like? Will be O'Shea out there kicking everybody's ass, reminding them that they're here, or they're not champs anymore? You're starting a job, and this is day one of a new season?
Well, I mean, I think that's a conversation that happens immediately when we get into team meetings. I mean, Wally did that back in 2011. We won the Grey Cup, and we went back to 2012, and it has to be said, it has to be understood that nothing is given. And we did a great job of understanding that last year and really taking the road least traveled and going on visitor all the way through the Grey Cup, and understanding that, we're a grinder team, and we're willing to go the hard way or do whatever it takes to win. And so that mentality is always going to come through for us in that locker room. But, it does need to be said that we got to go out there and earn it again. Because, I mean, nothing is given. We got to go take it. Success is by no means something that you own. It's rented, and rent is due every day. And, I expect us to understand that message right away, and I expect our first practice to be on fire.
Hey, last one for you on the way out. And, for veteran players, I would ask you this. I'd ask Andrew Harris this. I mean, guys that have become big parts of the community. Of course, Andrew, from here, you making your home here now with your family, and being through the rise, the return to prominence of the Bombers as key members of it. You also had to deal with, year in and year out, hearing about 29 damn years without winning the Grey Cup, and finally that's over. And then you go through this pandemic. just having that monkey off the back, not having to hear that for you personally, how great will that be? And the fact that you guys won a championship, albeit had to miss a year, and coming back as, the team that'll be raising the banner, how will that change things? I mean, you just sort of mentioned, what you have to do every day at practice and not, but will there be a different feeling about the club? I mean, is that a gorilla off the back of those of you that had to live with that until you won the thing in November 2019?
Well, yeah, I think so, because you can feel and hear the hunger from the province and from the city and everybody that bleeds blue and gold. And, it's something that I'm so proud to be a part of and being able to bring that back to everyone that deserved it. No doubt about it, there's been a bunch of amazing teams in the last 29 years, but they just didn't win, right? They were close. Injuries happened or bad timing, bad luck, but people forget because it's not a championship and it's not success. And we understand that in this business, it's about winning. And that's the only thing that matters when it really comes down to it. So the fact that we're able to bring that back, I'm super happy and proud that we really broke that streak, and we're part of history that did it in such an amazing way. And man, it just hopefully it's going to catapult us to doing more special things and being able to win more championships and in a decade than anybody has ever done. That's what I want to be able to accomplish and create a new championship city in Canada.
That's a hell of a way to end the interview, Adam. I'm ready to run through a wall right now. Hey, thanks for doing this. All the best to you and the family. And I can tell you that the excitement just for the first day of training camp, I think, will be unprecedented around these parts. And I'll tell you what, regardless of how many people are able in that park on the 5th of August, the entire country will be watching. And fingers crossed, we can keep these vaccinations going to where we need to be. And that Banjo Bowl will be the biggest game. I would say it'll be the biggest game in the history of IG Field if that happens. A Grey Cup celebration at the same time as the Banjo Bowl with the return of the CFL. That's what needs to be happening. And we'll wish you guys nothing but success on the 5th and throughout the year. And hopefully we'll be talking next year about another Grey Cup championship for Winnipeg.
Yeah, man, let's chat whenever you want, and then we'll catch up.
Definitely. We'll love to do it. We'll get back at you as maybe in camp or before the season, but all the best to you and the fam, Adam. Thanks so much for making time for us.
Appreciate you. Take care.
Right on. There he is, Adam Bighill, Bomber linebacker. We are good to go for the CFL season. August 5th, Ticats, Bombers, Grey Cup rematch. I am fired up. Man, that was great stuff with Adam Bighill. We do have more U.S. Open preview coming up. We've got to get to some hockey topics. But before we do that, do want to shout out Not AutoCorp with us from day one here on Winnipeg Sports Talk, the automotive supercenter with the incredible vehicles, including the best selections of Teslas in the city, all makes and models. And why not get into the car of your dreams with the help of the Not team? They'll help you consign your vehicle if you need to get out of a lease. And if you need body work, detailing, they do it all as well. And as we get open, you're going to definitely want to check out the incredible art gallery and showroom they have at Waverly and McGillivray. For more on everything that Not can do for you and the vehicles available, hit them up at not.ca. And a big shout out to our friends at Little Brown Jug Brewing. Now, the last couple of days, I was telling you about the Father's Day baskets. I think we did a good job on moving those Father's Day baskets because the pre-sale is done with them, although they still do have the Angels Share Hop and Hives cocktail mix, which turns the Belgian IPA into a delicious Radler. You can get that, but most importantly, the good stuff, and that's the Little Brown Jug, the famous 1919, the new summer lager, amazing can, and of course, my personal fave, the Hefeweizen. All available at Little Brown Jug, and while the Father's Day basket is no longer available, you know what Dad might like even better than the basket? Maybe the summer mixer pack and a case of 1919, and you can get those delivered simply, easy, and quickly on the littlebrownjug.ca website, making it easier than ever to buy beer. And I will tell you that the Black Lager, don't forget, on special right now, $3.36. You can find it at liquor marts and select beer stores, and of course also through the website at littlebrownjug.ca. And our friends at Breezy Bend, the course has never looked better. Got to give a shout out to Craig, the superintendent, maybe the biggest free agent pickup in golf over the last few years and what he's been able to do with the course. We're waiting for that 19th hole patio to get opened again, but the good news is playing as foursomes, just a phenomenal place for you and your family if you're looking for a golf home. Find out more about the waiting list for next season. Give Corey Johnson a call over at Breezy Bend or find out more at breezybend.ca. And speaking of Breezy Bend and golf, we're going to have Reid Fowler join us in just a few minutes to get ready for the U.S. Open. Had a great conversation with Mark Zucchino yesterday. Tomorrow it's happening. 13 hours of coverage a day on TSN. And I was telling Remis before, what I'm most excited about, Remis, come in here while we talk about this before we get Reid on. You're a big 9 p.m. guy for hockey games, like the West Coast. I'm not sure there's a better setup for the U.S. Open than it being on the West Coast, because we're going to have 13 hours, including full coverage of primetime golf. You know, the guys in the afternoon groups are going to be teeing off in and around like 4 o'clock our time, sometimes a bit later. And we should be getting play on TSN till like 9:30 or 10 o'clock at night on both Thursday and Friday.
Yes, I agree. I do love the West Coast is great for sports when you're not on the West Coast. When you're in the West Coast and it starts, you have regular games starting at like what, like 5? Not ideal, but if you're here and there's late games, I think it's awesome. So I'm, for the majors, I get fired up. I don't usually do well in PGA fantasy, but I'm gonna throw in a lineup. I'll listen to Reid coming up. I'll take what Mark Zucchino said yesterday. Maybe I'll read a little, see what Feinberg is up to on Twitter, and then I'll make my picks. So we do have some quality people here giving us the info that we need to make those selections.
Yeah, well, and you know what? I'll plug this because I did it a little earlier today. Got into about a 45-minute or an hour convo with our pal Pat Greggy from Coolbet Canada on the Coolbet social channel. So Coolbet Twitter, Coolbet YouTube channel, as well as their Facebook. And we went down a long list of our picks for the tournament, including outright, some top 5, top 10, top 20s, little top Canadian conversation as well, and some of the other exotics. So all of those are available if you want to watch them beforehand. And maybe just as we come in, take a look at the chat for those of you that are with us live on YouTube. Remis will throw a link in, and if you want to get in that our DraftKings contest, we still have, I think, about 9 spots left. So before I just go and fire out a Twitter link for anyone to jump on, want to make sure we get as many of you regulars with us in. Certainly really fun. And I do maintain, Remo, that golf DFS is the best. You get your lineup, you sweat through Thursday and Friday, hoping your guys make the cut. And if you're in the mix, man, Sunday afternoon doesn't get much better.
Golf is good. I like football, baseball, hockey. They all have their own Is there horse racing DFS, or is that just horse racing, Ben? We're going to get to that later. I've been cleaning up. Shout out to Klassen and Owen talking about the West Coast in terms of times. They're like, yeah, there's no late games. I know. I was on the West Coast. There's no games after 9 p.m. What do? You just go to bed early. There's nothing going on. You don't have that triple overtime keeping you up or anything.
No, it isn't. But during the regular part of the year, like we were doing, like a couple of years, we went and did the shows all week at Grey Cup in Vancouver. And because of our time, we were starting at like noon, or basically the warm up was at 2. So it was starting at noon in BC. So we'd go 12 to 4. And at that point, the games are starting. I'd go post up the red card or whatever, start getting into, something to eat, couple drinks, and watching the games. And you're right. Everything's done 9:30, 10 o'clock. But again, everything's starting at 4. That would be the weird thing, being the fan of a West Coast team. If you've got a regular job, when the Canucks are out on the East Coast, your games are starting at 4. Heck, the pregame shows are starting at 2 or 3 p.m. before the games, which for those of us in the Central time zone or the Eastern time zone, kind of hard to wrap your head around, but that's just the way life is out on the West Coast stream. Okay. Perfect. So we'll get Reid on here in just a minute. If you're not familiar with Reid Fowler, you should definitely give him a follow at Reid T. Fowler what's been really cool is seeing, Reid, as the golf world has embraced fantasy and betting much more. Our next guest has seen his profile rise to prominence, even seeing him pop up on a few PGA Tour broadcasts. And tell you what, we always love talking to Reid Fowler, but never a better time than going into the toughest major of the year, the U.S. Open at Torrey Pines. Let's bring him in. Reid Fowler from DraftKings. Follow him on Twitter at Reid T. Fowler. Reid, what's going on, man? Great to have you back on the program.
Oh, it's always a pleasure, Hustler, to join you, especially when we have major weekend. Yeah, I guess I'm never one to pump my own, which is weird, right? This day and age, that's what it takes to pump your own brand. But I've never been one to do that. And so if I can get out to a course and just, shoot some videos of the players on the range and do all the things for you guys, then I think that's a good way to spend a day.
Well, it has been. Listen, before we dive into everything going on this weekend, just fill our listeners in that maybe aren't as familiar about all the things that you were doing right now. A big prominent role with DraftKings, with some of the things that we'll get into. But as DraftKings grows, as the sports betting world goes, guys like you are getting some pretty cool opportunities.
Yeah, it's been great. It's been great to see what DraftKings in general, right? The rocket ship that we're on right now, and sports betting becoming legal. And you guys are lucky in that sense. You guys have had it good when it comes to the sports betting world. We're trying to follow suit like you guys, Hustler, to get it countrywide, because when you take a look at what it's done, not just for the states in terms of revenue, it's also something that just allows us, when we're watching the games and watching golf, watching whatever it is, to have a little bit more fun, right? When you do it responsibly. So for me personally, it's been fantastic. There's so many promos. There's, a couple of contests, I believe two, if not three. I think it's just two. A millionaire contests on DraftKings for the U.S. Open. And then on top of that, right, you have all of the prop bets, everything that a major brings on the DK Sportsbook. The odds are very competitive when I talk to other guys, especially up in Canada, and you guys have, a bunch of books out there. DraftKings is fairly competitive here in the States in terms of what the numbers you're getting. So it's been great. It's allowed me to go to golf courses, go to tournaments, and watch Phil win with the masses.
Oh my God, the Phil win. I still we'll get to Phil in a minute. It's just, it's a crazy thing, but I may as well hit right. I had Mark Zucchino on yesterday, and I don't know if you know Z. He does PGA Tour Radio, Golf Talk Canada here. Great guy. And I asked him, he's been in this business for a long time, about, Phil winning and the PGA and just how crazy that was. And should we even consider for a moment the potential of Phil Mickelson continuing to write history? If he did that, would that be like the biggest win in the history of the sport?
Yeah. I mean, seeing Phil not just win, like his win at Kiowa, Hustler, that is historic, right? Like, he was not supposed to win. The stats did not point to him any which way, right? That you cut it up. Phil was not supposed to win, but Phil believed that he could win. Therefore, when you have that type of belief, and then you hear this all the time. Sergio mentioned it before he won the Masters. Phil kind of mentioned it too in his his social media posts before, saying like, hey, there's this idea that you have to live and let live, and kind of be present in the moment and be a prisoner of the moment and let things happen as they will. And boy, what happens when that mindset changes, right? Especially in golf, not just life in general. And I don't know if we have enough time to talk about that, Hustler, but when you start to do that and you start to realize that when you stop trying, when you stop pressing so much, things open up, and whatever it is, right? And that's really what happened with Phil. If he wins this week in his backyard, completes the career Grand Slam, and has two majors in the year, and it's going to be unbelievable. I think collectively all of our heads would burst, not just in the sports world, but just everywhere.
Well, there's no doubt about it. I mean, it's already this incredible story, and I mean, there's so many storylines, and we'll get to the guys at the top. But I mean, just you mentioned, I mean, he is a San Diego guy. I mean, he's from there. He's probably played Torrey Pines as much, if not more, than anybody in the field. He's coming off this win. In some ways, he's sort of playing with house money, but I do remember the quote that he said after he won the PGA. Well, this could just be another blip, or maybe I'm ready to go on a bit of a run. I mean, how crazy is it to think that we might even be talking about Phil Mickelson on Sunday afternoon?
Oh, it's great. It's great for the game of golf, right? That we have these young players like Colin Morikawa, the Victor Hovlands coming up, right? Oh, the kids like Garrett Hago, who are now, some of the European players, South African international players, excuse me. And even the European players, right? There's a ton of guys, young players right now in the European Tour that, are starting to make their way to the PGA Tour. Golf's in a great spot. Phil Mickelson is sort of this omnipresent figure, not just in sports. And it's not weird to say, but we're talking about him like to an extent how we talked about Tiger. Tiger transcended the game of sport in so many different ways. The color barrier, the way golfers look, right? How they train and they work out. And what Phil is doing, again, not to that same level, because what Tiger did was unbelievable for the game, but he's transcending sport in that people who believe in the underdog, because he was always bridesmaid to Tiger. People who believe in a guy like Phil, he seems like the people person, right? Like the everyday guy. That translates not just in golf, but in everywhere. And so when you take a look at Phil and what he's going to be able to do, not just on his social media posts, but in actually the game of golf for the next couple of years, and then take that to the senior tour or to the Champions Tour, it's going to be so much fun to watch, and to watch this guy for the next handful of years that he's playing golf.
Well, never mind that. We should get him in the booth. Hell, I'd take him in the Monday Night Football booth right now. I mean, he is that good. He is that good on the microphone. And you mentioned the social media part. And of course, we've talked about the 40 mil. They're trying to grow the game and all this stuff. Phil is the most natural, seemingly genuine guy that's literally doing almost all of his own posts, unless it's something unsponsored. And it's such an interesting way to transition into our friends Bryson DeChambeau and Brooks Koepka and what's going on there. And listen, Brooks, I think Brooks is really good at social media. He's sort of sly. Bryson, listen, I think he bit off more than he can chew trying to go at it. I mean, he's the lack of self-awareness. He's just sort of weird. I don't think he's up to this stuff, but just your thoughts on all of this business between the two of them, and what's the talk on around those two going into tee off at Torrey on Thursday?
Yeah, I think it was Stephen Hennessy or someone at Golf Digest, and I apologize for not getting it correctly, where I saw this post, and I thought it was very poignant, and it encapsulated the what's happening from a personality standpoint. These guys are more similar than they like to admit, right? They both are these big, want to be number one, want to be in the limelight, try to say that they don't care about what other people think. They do, right? They absolutely do. They care about what the fans think. I mean, why else would you guys be doing this if you didn't? If you truly didn't, then be like Kawhi Leonard and call the internet the web, right? Like that's that, like that's the idea. Like if you really don't care about it, then show me. Don't tell me. Show me. And Kawhi showed me he really doesn't know what's going on. But when you take a look at what they're doing, I think it's only good for the game. I've been trying to wrap my head around what is it like, what feud in WWE is this most like? It's not like any of the greats, right? It's not like we see Macho Man Randy Savage and Hulk. It's not like anything of that ilk, but it's fairly close, right? To what we're getting. It's theatricized. It's blown out of proportion because we are doing it. We're blowing it out of proportion because it's entertaining. And that's what it is. It is pure entertainment. And the fact that, these guys are going at it on social media, and the idea that Bryson doesn't want to play against Brooks, or, he declined. I think that's what we were hearing from Brad Faxton, to play in a group or just to entertain the idea, I think is smart because he has nothing to gain from that. He really doesn't. But we as fans would love to see it, because it is Tiger versus Phil. It is the Lakers versus the Celtics, right? Not to that extent, but it's getting close to that, to where we feel like there's this rivalry between the two guys, right? Major winner for Bryson. Brooks is coming in runner-up at the PGA. He's won 1,000 U.S. Opens and 1,000 PGAs. So it's just great. And then on DraftKings on the DK Sportsbook, we're taking advantage of it. Why not, Hustler? There's a Bryson versus Brooks odds boost that you bet either golfer to have a better tournament finish, boosted to plus 110. So, right, it's just great for everything. It's great for all of us.
Well, let's just, before we get to the rest of the guys, especially up in the top, there's a pretty clear group of, the super elites, if you will, that are contending. Brooks, Bryson, who you got?
I got to go Bryson. I mean, it's like Bryson in a major. Like it's hard to go against what he can do, like mentally, how he really gets up. And I watched him a ton at Kiowa. I was like, he does not truly not get distracted by anything. How many guys were calling out Blake? Like how many fans were yelling at him? This was obviously before the Brooks Bryson meme and just everything snowballing from there and that interaction. But he's just so laser focused, and his game. I mean, he's already done this. Like he's won the U.S. Open. We know what he can do on these type of tracks. When his putter gets going, and that's really the key. It's not necessarily the distance. It's that putter and those long irons. If he can get that going like he did at Kiowa Island, like he's going to be tough to beat. I love Bryson. I think he sets up great. I think Winged Foot is a comp course to this, and you're going to see it. And Bryson has mentioned it. He wants to wallop the ball down the course, down the hole, and then just hack it out from there. That's going to be a huge advantage. Like he's hacking it out from 80, 90 yards, 125 yards, and the other guys are hacking it out from 180, and they got to hit wedges out of the rough just to get it back in the fairway. And Bryson's hitting wedges to the green. That's going to be a huge advantage, but it's hard to go against Brooks in a major.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm on Brooks, but I mean, you can make a very salient argument on either side. And, the same goes for the other guys in this group. I mean, I'm looking at numbers right now, still is quite a bit of movement up and down, but we essentially have 5 players under 20-1 right now. John Rahm being the favorite, and there's a pretty significant gap between Rahm and the other 4, DJ, Bryson, Brooks, and now Xander Schauffele, who is sort of split from Rory McIlroy and Colin Morikawa. Of those 5, it's interesting that Xander is grouped in that. I mean, you look at his U.S. Open finishes, and I believe he's been in the top 6 in the last 4 years. There's a lot of talk about him coming home and, being a San Diego guy and knowing Torrey Pines very well. He doesn't seem to have the same makeup as far as that power, that brute strength we seem to think that is so important with this tournament than the other 4. Just thoughts on that top group. And you sort of went over Brooks and Bryson. Is there someone else you like better than Bryson of that 5?
If it's going to be anyone else, it's Rahm. Just because San Diego is like a second home to him. He's played well. He's won the Farmers, so he loves this course. The last time we saw Rahm, he was dominating a field similar to this at Muirfield Village. Like he was at minus 18, and the final score, the winning score, was 13 under, right? So he was at 18 under on Saturday, and it was unbelievable. 21 birdies in 3 days for that guy. It's just unbelievable, right? 1050 is not necessarily on DK Sportsbook right now. Doesn't necessarily float my boat. I would want it closer, right, to what Bryson, like a plus 1400, plus 1350, to get that, because it's, this is the U.S. Open. Right. I don't think Rahm is going to necessarily feel any sort of symptoms and not just literal, but any sort of carryover from what happened. He seems very, very present in the moment and has reconciled that process, I think, very nicely. And the result, if I'm going down, right, the reason why Xander is so popular, every single week, especially at a major, because everyone loves to play Xander. But look at his track record, Hustler, of the majors. He missed the cut at Kiowa Island, but before that, 3rd, 17th, 5th, 10th. Like this guy just plays well at the majors, and he was runner-up at the Farmers to Patrick Reid earlier this year. So it makes sense why he's up there. But I just never really want to bet Xander at that number because he hasn't done. I mean, look who's by him, right? How is Brooks like more than Xander? How is Rory even more than Xander? That makes a little bit more sense, but Brooks, no way. So I'm out on Xander, probably John Rahm at the top.
It's amazing. Rory, having played better, having won on tour this year, is still sitting at 22-1 on some books. I mean, what do you make of Rory, and are we not paying enough attention to him?
Yeah, I don't think we are. You get, of course, like the weather is going to be fairly benign. It's not going to be any, there's not going to be winds like we saw at the Ocean Course at the PGA Championship. It seems very calm. And if that's the case, Rory McIlroy for the longest time has been one of the best players off the tee, right? It really comes down to, can he mentally get it going and keep it going for 4 rounds? Just something in between the ears right now, or just whatever it is. Maybe it is mechanics and he's thinking about it too much. Maybe he's getting a little tired because being a dad is obviously being, very exhausting. Who knows what the case may be? Like, he won recently, but we haven't yet seen that full push of what we've seen with Rory at plus 2,100. that is a numbers play. That is a positive EV play, in my opinion, even though Rory hasn't done it this season as much as we'd like. You're getting him at an unbelievable number. I think Jordan Spieth is someone maybe more on the DFS side that we should consider because of what he's done since the Farmers. He's been unbelievable. So, Rory, I think, is someone that, plus 2,100. If you're on it, I'm not talking you off of that.
And you bring up Spieth, and I'll just ask you this from a theory standpoint. And we're talking about outright winners, but also in pools and DraftKings lineups. Yeah. It does seem like even the best players, the longest guys, the best iron players are still going to be ending up in the rough and still are going to be missing greens. Is scrambling, it will, as much as we're talking about length and all that, will the scrambling and the ability to get up and down maybe be the determining factor in this tournament?
That's sort of a red herring, right? Like, I think, you absolutely have to, right? Patrick Reid, how he won at the Farmers earlier this season was he got up and down for par, like every single time that he was in the rough. But this week, it's like if you're scrambling, that means you're not striking the ball very well, right? Like that's sort of a stat, like a stat that is a byproduct of you not doing something very well. And how long is that going to sustain over time if you're always scrambling around Torrey Pines on a U.S., like not just Torrey Pines in general, but at a U.S. Open setup? So that's going to be really tough. What I think is the factor that's going to win, obviously, and this is not rocket science, is you got to have a hot putting week, right? Tiger's mentioned it. All these guys mentioned that Planet Greens. What happens towards the end of the day, they get bumpy. If you don't have a good head on your shoulders and you start getting mad about putts that are really good putts cannot go in, if you don't keep your composure, that's the reason why you're not going to win. That's why you see Brooks and the Patrick Reids of the world win these major tournaments, because with ultimate resolve, they know that they can make those putts and they know they'll fall if they keep their process going. That's the factor that you're not going to see in the stat sheet is which one of these guys at the end of Sunday has what he has in between the ears to make sure that from Thursday to Sunday, they're competing on every single hole and are exhausted. I want to see these guys on a beach like for the next month after they win the U.S. Open because of how exhausting it is.
Reid Fowler of DraftKings is with us, getting ready for Thursday's tee-off at Torrey Pines for the U.S. Open. Before we get to some low-dollar ballers to round out our lineups, I have to ask you about my guy. We just had Adam Bighill on for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and the Bombers, Reid, had good teams for a long time but could not get over the hump, and they finally won the Grey Cup right before we went into the pandemic. So everyone's fired up about that. 29 years, the monkey's off the back. And I got thinking about my guy, Tony Finau. Oh. You want to talk about a monkey on the back, off the back? Yeah, he won the Puerto Rico Open, but he's been so close and he's been so elite consistently for a long time. Listen, I do have some scar tissue from close calls with Tony in the past, but I am back on Team Tony this weekend. I can't think of a better way to get that monkey off the back, to do it in a course like this. And when you dig into the numbers, he's another guy that has played Torrey Pines as, well, frankly, better than anybody since 2015. Is it crazy to think that this could be Tony Finau's time?
No, it's not crazy at all, Huster. You're talking to the president of the Tony Finau fan club.
Yes.
I get it every which way from everyone at DraftKings that, we know you're playing Tony, but who else? Like, who else do you have time to talk about? Like, no one else. I had zero time to talk about anybody else because it's Finau forever. Is it like, of course it is. Of course it's like, look at what he's done. Like, not just in regular tournaments, not just at Torrey Pines, that we know that he's great at this course, right? A great driver of the ball, a great ball striker. His putting gets, that's the one thing that we always talk about with Finau. And then he just top fives, right? Because whatever that barrier is, right? Whether it been at Genesis earlier this year at Riviera, whether it be at that Waste Management, like he's gotten close, but then he's gotten like lapsed he's gotten overtaken by the Max Homas, the Webb Simpsons, to not close that deal out. Second place, overseas when with DJ won, I believe in Saudi Arabia. But it's like, so you see that everything is there. Like, you don't have to read into the numbers to know that this guy's got an ultimate talent It's just a matter of, like I said earlier, can he get over the hump of on Saturday or even on Friday when he's leading and he has to starts to have a bad stretch of golf, that you don't string 4 bogeys together. Maybe you do 2 bogeys instead of 4, right? Those kind of things you want to see from Tony this week. Not the birdies, not the 350-yard drives, not what he can do on these par 5s. Of course, we know he can do that. It's can you put together a average round when it could have been really, really bad. If we see that this week, Hustler, if we see that like on a Friday where the front or the back 9 was bad and then the subsequent 9 was good, or he saved himself quite a bit and not just making these 40-foot putts, then that's going to make me feel really good about Tony, because this is a course he absolutely loves.
Oh, Matt, Reid, tons of great comments about this visit from you here in the chat. And there's my boy Hammerback. What up, Christian? Love Finau this week, Huss. Yes, let's go. It is time. I might even top this bet up already after hearing this soliloquy from you, Reid. But as we all know, if you want to win in DraftKings, and by the way, Remis has posted the link. There's still a few spots left in the contest if you want to get in with us. You need to, grab the winner. You need to some good guys at the top. But I think what will really make or break a lot of lineups is the cheaper guys at the bottom of your lineup making the cut. Who are some of the low dollar ballers, some good value plays that we can round out our roster after we stack 3 or 4 of the top dogs?
Yeah, so history doesn't necessarily have to repeat itself, but it always rhymes, right? We always kind of say like, oh, it kind of makes sense that this is the case. Over the last 3 years, only 1 player has made the top 6 in DraftKings scoring under $7,000. And that guy was Will Zalatoris at Winged Foot last year. And so we know that Will Zalatoris is amazing. He shouldn't have been down there, but we didn't know, right? We didn't know the talent that he possessed on the PGA Tour yet until we saw it, and now know that Will Zalatoris is a primetime player. So with that in mind, there is 1 player down there that I think could be someone that no one's talking about that I'll get to in a little bit. I'll just name up these top guys. In the $7,000 range, I think Shane Lowry is great. You see what he's done tee to green over the last few tournaments. Adam Scott at $7,400. Amazing. Talk about his Torrey Pines history. He's like tops in strokes gained total at Torrey Pines from like 2017. His U.S. Open track record is fantastic. He's at $7,400. Max Homa, California kid. We know what he did at Riviera. We know what he does in Polana. He's won in strong fields. He's missed 4 of his last 8 cuts, Hustler, but in those 4 cuts that he's made, no worse than the top 22. So he's someone, too, that if he can get going, that putter gets going, he's someone to watch out for. Carlos Ortiz at $7,100, not a guy who's going to impress you off the tee at all. He's like 118th off the tee right now in the last 24 rounds on Fantasy National. Not going to impress you. What he does impress you with is his putter. He's lost strokes in the last 2 events putting. That's not what he does, right? He gains strokes on the greens. But what's impressive, 3 of the last 4 he's gained with his approach. At Memorial, he gained 9.5 strokes with his irons. So if he just gets back to what he's doing putting, that's unbelievable value for Carlos Ortiz. There's so much value in the $7,000 range that I don't think anyone's going to be looking at Carlos Ortiz. And last but not least, $6,600. Complete dart throw here, Hustler. Justin Suh at $6,600. Number 1 amateur in 2019 in the world. This guy was a USC standout. He, in 2019, turned pro with Morikawa, with Wolf, with Hovland. He was at that press conference with those other guys. He just hasn't had the same, obviously the same trajectory and success as the other guys have had, but the talent is there. He grew up in California. He's played Torrey Pines like 20-plus times. He finished T37 at the Farmers Insurance Open earlier this year. He's someone that could show up top 20, top 30. If he makes a cut at like 1%, maybe, probably not even 1% roster percentage, he's going to allow you to do a ton of stuff up top.
Oh, Matt, Reid, this has been amazing. And I love the Ortiz mention. I was talking with the Coolbet guys earlier. I've got him on a top 20, sort of under the radar, getting in there. But this has been so much fun. Just an awesome segment. People are loving it. Reid, where can tell us what are you going to be doing over these next few days? And should there be lots of content? Where can people see more of these great takes, especially about Tony Finau?
Yeah, at Tony Finau Fan Club. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah. Reid T. Fowler on Twitter. It's where I do all of my stuff on the DraftKings YouTube page. We have shows every single day. every single day at 11 a.m. Eastern. So where you guys are at, I believe I think we're
10
a few
a.m.
hours at 10 a.m.
Yeah.
So again, that's something that we're doing. So I'm not just talking about golf. We're talking about football futures, obviously with the playoffs, with NBA, we're talking hockey, baseball, everything. And so for us, that's where you can find us. But for me specifically, just go over to Twitter at Reid C. Fowler. That's where everything is.
Dude, you're the best. Thanks so much for doing this.
Course,
enjoy the week. And listen, we may have to have an impromptu emergency visit after our guy wins that damn trophy on the weekend.
What a way to break the curse, right? The Puerto Rico Open curse. You win the U.S. Open at Torrey.
Let's go. Thanks for doing this, buddy.
All right, bud.
All right, there he is, Reid Fowler. Man, he's great. That was a heck of a lot of fun. Lots of people loving it in the chat. And if you're with us right now, yes, Christian, Reid's a great guest. Just added him to my Twitter followers. Christian, you're a big golf guy. You definitely need to be on Reid. And listen, everyone, hit us up with your U.S. Open winner in the chat. Let's see who people like. I'm with Tony. Brooks is my other outright pick, and then we'll get to a couple of these odds coming up for Coolbet in just a couple minutes. Well, as we mentioned, U.S. Open gets going. If you are a golf fan, or even not a golf fan, maybe get a DraftKings lineup or something. Join us, and you will be locked in. We've got late night, well, as it were for golf, late night primetime golf from the West Coast. So that means every night is a game night, and not just for hockey and the basketball playoffs, but for the PGA Tour. And why not hit up our friends at Boston Pizza and get that amazing game night special meal with the 2 specialty pizzas, the case of 24 wings, or maybe treat yourself to the pizza flights. Can't imagine a better accompaniment, maybe for a 1919, when you're, on the couch for 12 straight hours watching the U.S. Open. You can go to bostonpizza.com. Of course, there's the Boston Pizza app, or simply call your local restaurant and get that game day meal, the pizza flights, or anything else of their delicious offerings on the menu for takeout or delivery. And as I promised, as soon as we are able to, a WST get-together will be taking place at one of the Boston Pizza lounges here in Winnipeg. Shout out to our friends at Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge as well, as they get ready to reopen and get back on the water. Incredible, world-class fly-in fishing experience right here in Winnipeg. You can be on the water in less than 2 hours from the city of Winnipeg. And they've got some great availability this year because normally they're packed with American tourists. That's not happening right now because of the border. So really maybe a once-in-a-lifetime chance to get in some prime times with our friends over at Aikens, aikenslake.com, or give our friend Pitt a call, or hit him up on Twitter, Pitt Turan at Aikens Lake. And of course, Assiniboia Downs. Wow. I had to scramble yesterday for my picks. I did hit one Quinella, which got me close to even for the day. But my opponent in this duel at the Downs, Michael Remis, is somewhat of a horse racing savant, apparently. I think Remo won 3 or 4 races last night. So listen, I can't really be too upset with the way I came out, but man, if this was horse racing, he's putting up a pretty nice lead early in the race, and I'll need to catch up. If you want to join us at betting on it, first of all, check out the Assiniboia Downs YouTube page. The guys do a great job. 6:45, Kirk Marshall stretch will set you up for the night's racing, go through the card, give you some ideas on some of the horses that they like, and then again before each race on the YouTube page. And they're quite funny as well. They have a lot of fun, much like we do here on our YouTube site. So you can do that. But what you're going to want to do is get to hpibet.com and make your selections and your wagers. You can watch the races right there at HPI or on the Assiniboia Downs YouTube page. And of course, you can bet on not just Assiniboia Downs, but horse racing from around the world on HPI. So big thanks to Assiniboia Downs. We'll get to our picks before the end of the program. Let's get Remis back in here because this has been a real fun show. Man, Adam Bighill was awesome. And I have to say that Reid Fowler, every time he comes on, I enjoy talking to him more. But man, was that a killer segment. For a lot of people that are excited about the U.S. Open, but maybe haven't been paying as close attention to the ins and outs every week on the PGA Tour this year.
Yeah, that was great. And I saw a lot of people, interested in getting into fantasy, into DraftKings. Shout out to T. Kona Pauly, who said he signed up. He's in the tournament. He was asking for some advice on lineup construction. To be honest, I'm not a big PGA DFS guy. I do play the big tournaments. But I think you want to pick, your most expensive guy. You're going to need some cheaper guys. and some mid guys. And I know that's pretty general. It's not like the other sports where maybe your picks can correlate with each other, like NHL, where you're going to go for line stacking, or MLB lineup stacking, or NFL QB, running QB wide receiver stacks and all that stuff. So PGA a bit different. Everyone's individual, but you just want to pick 6 guys who make the cut. And then
that's the key. Listen,
the key.
you want to, if there's a guy you think that's going to win the tournament, pick him, because you're going to want, and listen, our contest 50 people, but if you want to put your lineup into one of the big ones with thousands of people and win the big money, listen, you're definitely going to have to have the top couple of guys. But as Remis just mentioned, having your guys make the cut is huge, because they'll still get points on Saturday and Sunday, potentially get bonus points for where they finish. But if you have a lot of guys that don't make it to the weekend, it really does put you in a very, very difficult position. But it's incredibly fun. $3 pool. I just see we've had a bunch more guys. Owen Catelli's in. T. Konopali's in. This will be a lot of fun. So there's still 5 spots left. I'll wait before I put it out to fill the final ones. If anyone wants to get in with us, you can just go and hit that link that Remis tweeted out in the chat and get on that for a little bit later on. While we're talking about all this golf, let's get to the lines today for Coolbet. First of all, we'll hit on the hockey. Habs plus 214 underdogs tonight against the Golden Knights, who are a pretty chalky minus 250 favorite. Tomorrow's game right now, Tampa minus 132 in Long Island against the Islanders. Islanders a home dog at plus 112. We talked yesterday about that Tampa Bay Lightning line and how it was minus 103 and maybe with some really good value. Well, if you jumped on that yesterday, you're pretty darn happy, because right now the series winner is minus 200 for Tampa after their win last night, and the Islanders back to a sizable underdog at plus 165, and Vegas now minus 909 to win their series. Habs plus 625. You think they got another miracle in? A big number out there for you. But of course, the odds that we're most looking forward to are these odds for the U.S. Open. We just spent some time talking about them with Reid Fowler. But here are your favorites, up-to-date numbers at Coolbet. John Rahm's 11-1. DJ, Dustin Johnson, 17-1. Bryson, Brooks, and Xander Schauffele, all 18-1. Colin Morikawa and Rory McIlroy and Jordan Spieth, 22-1. Justin Thomas, 25-1. Wow, that's a surprising number for JT. And then our guy, Tony Finau, along with Victor Hovland, 27-1. And Patrick Reid and Pat Cantlay are 29-1. I will give you one interesting sort of prop bet. And it's always a fun one for us Canadians, with how much they'll focus on, not as much the broadcast, but the TSN broadcast on it. Top Canadian is this: Corey Connors, minus 139. Adam Hadwin is 4-1. Mackenzie Hughes is 5-1. And Taylor Pendrith, who opened up at 7-1, is now at 5-1 or plus 500. So, Rima, if you check it, it's under groups.
Groups.
Which is fascinating. And Pendrith is a player that has been kicking ass on the Corn Ferry Tour this year. He doesn't have PGA Tour membership, but he's qualified for this tournament. And he's an absolute bomber, averaging 320 yards off the tee on the Corn Ferry Tour. And, he's a big, very strong player that drives the ball very well. And that is exactly the sort of player we're seeing at the top of this list. So I will say there might be a Taylor Pendrith appearance on a DraftKings lineup, but for the top Canadian, sort of a fun bet going on if you want to just play between those three. Again, Pendrith is 5-1, as is Mac Hughes, Hadwin 4-1, and Corey Connors a heavy favorite and minus 139. All of those bets, as well as a ton of other props, all available for you at coolbet.com. Remo, listen, okay, before we get into our racing picks, I got to get to a couple things back from hockey before we finish up. Gerard Gallant, new head coach of the New York Rangers. Great hire. I think most of us would agree that, he got done dirty by the Panthers when they threw him in the cab. And I still can't believe that the Vegas Golden Knights fired him, albeit they seem to be doing quite well under Peter DeBoer. You knew Gerard Gallant was going to get another chance. There was a lot of Winnipeg Jet fans that we would have heard here with us on this program kind of hollering that they would like to hear about, maybe a coaching move. Well, that's obviously not going to happen for Gallant because he's the new head coach of the New York Rangers. And as I said, great hire. Should be, going into a team, they really do need to take a step up. I think there'll be a lot of pressure on the organization to do that. that's why they hired Gallant. But I will say, Reem, what's interesting to me about this is not necessarily that the Rangers hired Gallant, but that they seemingly hired him before getting any sort of clarity on Rod Brind'Amour, and something Pierre LeBrun was speculating today, that, many people believing that it's highly likely that Brind'Amour returns to the Canes because the Rangers, who certainly had interest in Brind'Amour, decided to move on to Gallant without any clarity on what the story was in Carolina.
Yeah, that's we're kind of waiting to hear about what happens with Rod Brind'Amour, because the Seattle Kraken and Ron Francis, good friends from Hartford and Carolina days, they don't have a head coach yet. Who is it going to be? Was it going to be Gallant now with the Rangers, Brind'Amour? Pierre LeBrun had some other names in his thing. One of them was assistant on the Islanders. But the expansion draft coming up in just over a month, and they still don't have a head coach. So Ron Francis is going to have to get to work pretty soon and figure out who's going to be behind the bench for the first season in Seattle.
Yes, and of course, the other topic that Pierre was discussing was a potential trade for Jack Eichel. And this is not surprising. I mean, the story has been coming around. But what is interesting, Pierre's reporting that, there's been some trade talk that's picking up right now, and he believes that a trade could potentially be done before the playoffs, Reem. Teams, Pierre believes, make sense: LA, Minnesota, Anaheim, Columbus, Philadelphia, and the Rangers. It seems like the Rangers, no matter who's getting traded, they're always a team that is in it. I'm not sure what they're going to give up. Maybe if they're willing to move off Alexis Lafreniere in a package, maybe that does get it done. There's a few of those teams like Minnesota. I don't think they're going to move Kaprizov. You wonder what they'd have that could get Jack Eichel out. And then there's the other thing with, it's great to get first round picks, but I would make the argument that first round picks this year maybe don't have the value of others, regardless of what your thought of the quality of player in the draft is, more so that the uncertainty of so many of these players because of what they went through in the last year. This is far from a normal year from a scouting perspective in the league.
Yeah, Columbus, as we followed Patrick Laine, they don't have, they traded away their top center in Dubois, although maybe he didn't look like a top center here in Winnipeg. But they're looking for a center. They do have 3 first-round picks. And it reminds me of another team that had 3 first-round picks and kept all of them, Boston, a couple years ago, and it didn't seem to go well for them. So maybe they would be better off using those as currency in a trade. I don't know. Was that enough for Eichel? Maybe they would need some players. I see some people speculating on Twitter if this Eichel trade is going to be like, will it be like the Ryan O'Reilly trade where Buffalo got pretty much nothing, or will it be like the Joe Thornton trade where Boston got again basically nothing. So
let's throw in the Solani trade if we want to talk about big players that were traded earlier in their career that ended up being terrible for the franchise that traded them.
Yeah, so we will wait and see. I don't know. I'm not one to think that, they're just saying Eichel's going to get traded for clicks, Huss. Got to get people watching TSN now, because I remember there were some people who said that around, the Patrick Laine situation. So the headline right now, number 1 on the NHL section on TSN, LeBrun Eichel trade talks getting more intense and serious. So we will see. LA is an interesting. I don't know what LA would trade, but I do remember them getting gifted Jeff Carter and Mike Richards in the early 2000s, which led to 2 Stanley Cups. So I don't know. He'd look pretty good in a Kings uniform. I'd be in for that.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Well, I'm fascinated about this Eichel situation in that, Buffalo's had such a miserable year, and they've had a miserable decade, to be honest. And, I remember talking about the tank job that they did in that season where it was the McDavid and Eichel draft year. And, to me, they were rewarded for their tank because at that time, they hadn't changed the draft lottery yet. The worst you could do was move back 1 spot. So essentially, by guaranteeing they were the worst team in the league, as ugly as that season was, they got either McDavid or Eichel. They didn't get McDavid. They had a 25% chance, 75% chance they got Eichel. That's how it worked out. They thought he was the future of the club. He was given a $10 million a year extension. And now with 5 years left on the deal, wants out. And I can't really blame him. It has been an absolute mess. There's issues with his health, the conflicting opinions of his doctors and the team's doctors going forward. And that's a big part too. it's been reported that some teams agree with the Sabres and some teams agree with Eichel's doctors. So that'll probably be a big factor in getting him moved. That being said, I am still not sure, Reem, that Kevin Adams is the guy that should be the architect of a full franchise rebuild. But considering the cuts that they've had in Buffalo and the fact that he's still on the job, it looks like he's going to be the guy that will, in fact, pull the trigger.
Yeah, he hasn't had a lot of GM experience, but he's had business experience. He's got a relationship with the ownership there. So he's going to be the guy. And we'll see how it goes for Buffalo, but it's so crazy how it's been so long for them. And they haven't had any success despite, the tank, the top picks. They've gone through a couple coaches here, a couple GMs now, and they're sticking with what they got. We did have a player signing during that segment with Reid. I'm not sure if you saw.
Oh, no, please. Is it breaking news? Should we get the horn going on? Or,
it's just like a veteran player signing a 1-year min salary deal. But he was a big contributor in the playoffs for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Jason Spezza signing a 1-year, $750K contract extension. He had 10 goals, 30 points in 54 games. He looked great in the playoffs, so good for him. I guess he's just going to sign the min there, close to home, and keep giving her with the Leafs, trying to bring a cup there. The other one I was seeing talked about today on Twitter is Zach Hyman, who really hasn't engaged in any talks. It seems like he's going to enter free agency, and you wonder where he's going to go, and if someone will overpay for him, it'll be a contract that maybe someone regrets. But Hyman did have a career year last year. But the Leafs, with those top guys, Matthews, Marner, Nylander, Tavares, you need to have some, as you call them, low-dollar ballas at the bottom of your forward group. And Jason Spezza's, 38 years old, but he's been an effective forward for the veteran minimum. I think that's a nice signing for them.
Yeah, the NHL has essentially turned into a big DraftKings contest where, you pick your big guys that you need, and then you need the low-dollar ballers to fill out the lineup. And that is basically what Kyle Dubas is doing right now with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Although he's getting, as you would say, good val for Jason Spezza. He had a really good season. Not at all surprised that he's back. Probably deserves more that he's getting, but that is the plot of players in that situation right now. All right, Remo, let's get to the here, just quickly, a couple of NBA notes I did want to mention. I know we don't talk a lot of hoops on this, but the playoffs are wild right now. I owe an apology to everybody over the last couple days on this program. We've been spending so much time with the excitement of the Canadian Football League return and all that we have not given the just desserts and the proper due to Suns in 4 guy. And if you haven't seen this clip already, listen, I don't like to glorify fighting, especially amongst fans. You'd have to be an idiot to get into a fight, but this guy was clearly acting in self-defense. 2 idiots in Nuggets jerseys, pouring a beer on him, and then the guy taking a sucker punch at him. And Suns in 4 guy, in about the most civilized way possible, beat the hell out of the one guy while his friend was looking on, warned him he was going to do it, gave him another shot, got them out of there, and then dropped the Suns in 4 in their face. It immediately went viral. And Remo, this guy is now on a real run. Devin Booker of the Suns hooking up with him, thanking him for it. They're going to get him to a game. He's got some shirts coming out everywhere on this. And honestly, as I said, you don't like to see those events happen, but I'll tell you what, when 2 idiots are starting things, pouring beer on someone and sucker punching them and then get their asses kicked, I think a lot of people can get on side with that. And then dropping the Suns in 4 in their face and then having them sweep made the guy an instant legend.
Yeah, Suns in 4 is a new line, Huss. Watch out for that. But we're talking about NBA injury news. Kawhi Leonard was announced. Yes. He's got some ACL issue. He's going to be out for a while. LeBron, I don't know if you saw this during the show. It was pretty much like when that interview with Reid started. LeBron put out a big tweet storm today. Huss, here.
Is this about Looney Tunes? About his upcoming Space Jam
go
movie?
Watch Space Jam 2. Check it out. But he said, they didn't want to listen to me about the start of the season. I knew what would happen. I wanted to protect the well-being of players, which is the product and benefit of our game. These injuries aren't part of the game. It's a lack of pure rim rest. Rest before starting back up. 8 or 9 All-Stars have missed playoff games, the most in league history. This is the best time of year for our league and the fans. Missing a ton of our favorite players. It's insane. And if there's one person that knows about the body and how it works all year round, it's me. I speak for the health of our players, and I hate to see so many injuries this time of year. Sorry, fans. Wish you guys were seeing. And I think that was a big thing with the NBA, where they ended last season in the bubble, and they started up very quickly. And we have seen a number of players get hurt. Someone down here listed all the guys here as LeBron, AD, Kawhi, Chris Paul, Kyrie, Harden, Embiid, Mitchell, Luka, Russ, Beal, Conley, and then who else? Jamal Murray got hurt before the playoffs. I mean, so many dudes. So
yeah, listen. I mean, I don't know if I buy what LeBron's selling. LeBron's always saying whatever he can say to make his angle looks the best. I mean, remember last year in the bubble, like in that season, he was totally fine with the play-in. And then all of a sudden this year, when the play-in tournament happens to include the Lakers, he's saying that it's a joke, and what are they doing having it? I mean, the guy just plays both sides of the fence the entire time. Now, listen, I do get it. These injuries are bad for the league, and, you need to have your top players there. But what do they want to do? Not play? That's a real issue for them going forward. And listen, I think they'll probably learn from some of this, Remis, but at the same time, listen, this is the league that has been utilizing load management for a number of seasons. So I don't know why you'd be complaining about the league. When guys wanted to rest, they got to rest pretty much league wide.
Yeah, I don't know. LeBron, is something going on at your place there? I have some noise suppression on you. I can't hear it that clearly, but it's coming through.
I've muted my mic as much as possible. I will mute my mic when it happens. It seems like there's some construction developing right now. Although I'm glad they waited until the end of the program to do that.
I got some filters on, so you don't need to worry about it. I got it. I can take care of that.
Okay, well, it sounded pretty loud, to be honest. Like it was almost to the point where it was driving me out.
No.
But anyways, we don't have too much time left. We do want to get to our picks for Assiniboia Downs, but I have to recognize Kevin Durant. I give KD a lot of crap about his choices in the past. There was a lot of speculation as to whether the Bucks would be able to get it done last night. Kyrie Irving out. It looked like James Harden was out. He came back, but still was not that effective. And KD put that team on his back. They were down 14 after the first quarter, I believe 20 in the second quarter, and came back. Kevin Durant's line in last night's game, 49 points, 17 rebounds, and 10 assists, a triple-double, one off 50 points, and they got it done against the Milwaukee Bucks. Pretty hard to give KD any crap for what he's doing right now as his teammates continue to be injured, but he is there night in and night out. And they're one game away from moving on, but I'll tell you what, as long as James Harden is limping around and Kyrie's not there, it literally is going to take KD going for almost 50 points if they're going to beat the Bucks one more time.
Yeah, we will see about that. And I did want to bring up one more thing, Huss. This is coming out, and this is going to be a storyline, I think, for the next couple of months, not just in sports, but in life. The NBA, or the NFL put out a memo here to players, and let me just bring it up. Tom Pelissero tweeted out just the difference in restrictions for fully vaccinated players in media versus not fully vaccinated players in media. So it seems like if you're fully vaccinated, you don't have to have daily testing, you don't have to wear masks, you don't have to distance, you don't have to quarantine after exposure, you don't know travel restrictions. So many, you don't have any restrictions on you. But if you're not fully vaccinated, you're going to have a lot of limitations on what you can do, where you can go. So I'm not going to go through a list, but Tom Pelissero of NFL Network tweeting out. So they're trying to get all their players to get the vaccine. I know we just saw Chris Paul. I mean, he's out with COVID protocols, and in baseball, I know there's some teams that haven't hit the threshold. So this is a sports storyline. I think that I'll be going for a bit going forward.
Excellent. All right. Now, listen, before we get to our Assiniboia Downs picks, I want to give a shout out to our boy Sean Lishka, who is in the chat right now, dropping some picks for his what he thinks for the U.S. Open. But most importantly, Remo, we need to have a bit of an update on the real story going on right now in Manitoba. And that, of course, is the Steinbach Online, Steinbach's Manliest Man contest. And our boy Gitch has by far the best picture in the Steinbach. Okay, here we are. If you're looking at us on the screen, you can see it. There's all these gentlemen that have been nominated as Steinbach's manliest man, but our guy Gitch in here on a daily basis in the chat has the money shot, and I think I can vouch for him without a doubt, the manliest man. There you can see him. I don't know if we can get that a little bit bigger, Reem, but the jean short shorts, the yellow scooter helmet, the red bandana, no shirt. I mean, is that oozes machismo as much as maybe anything that I've ever seen. So folks, what we need you to do is go and vote. As you can see, click on Sean L at the bottom. You press vote. It'll make sure that you're a human. You can do it once every hour. So if you're sitting around with nothing to do, just keep going back to that link at Steinbach Online and voting away for our boy Gitch. Fernand had a big run last night and bounced him out of first place. So we've got a little bit. Are we back up on top? Sean L. All right,
barely on top,
but it's very, very tight. I mean, it's a 3-horse race between Gitch, Fernand, and James P. for the incredible honor and title of Steinbach's manliest man. Follow Sean on Twitter at GitchLishka. You'll see some funny stuff from him. His Instagram is a real treat as well. But as far as for this, let's get these votes going in. Let's get the WST chat room behind Gitch for, I mean, really a title and a crown, Remis, that will that might change the fabric of Southern Manitoba. If Gitch, in fact, is the guy that is voted the manliest man, I think it'll say a lot about the direction of Southern Manitoba, which gets a bit of a bad rap these days in these COVID times.
Couldn't said it better. I can't believe that there's a contest called Manliest Man. I can't believe that's a thing. So maybe I'm just upset because I know that I would never even be close to being able to win that. So we're pulling for Sean here. We're voting for him.
Yeah, I know there's some people that are asking about the link. I am going to fire over to you, Reem. I've just sent it to DM there, so it's there for you. And copy that link. And so if you can fire out some votes just over the next few days. I believe this goes until Friday. So we got to fire it up for our buddy the Gitch right now, as clearly, without a doubt, Steinbach's manliest man. I don't even know why they're going through the charade of having a vote on all of this. And Remo, I will tell you, I did get contacted by a radio person in Steinbach that I guess was watching the show yesterday, wanting my takes on the Steinbach's manliest man. So I may, in fact, be jumping on a Steinbach program to talk about this event coming up soon. Follow me on Twitter. I'll tweet out the link if you want to join me coming up on that. Should be a lot of fun.
We're all about the manliest man contest here. Whether it's we've seen all the pictures, guys chopping wood riding on their ATVs.
Fish picks, lots of fish picks too.
Yeah, so whatever. I don't know. I got to find my manliest man picture if I own one. I don't even know.
Bravo, Brian. Gitch is far and away the manliest man in Steinbach, let alone this very chat room. But split, anyone with the name Gitch needs to win. Nicole J, love it. Been voting every day. So this is great support. Wow. This is great support for our boy Sean. And, maybe we'll have a victory speech or something on WST if, in fact, he takes it down. Certainly a video at some point, which we will put out. So listen, while we're voting on that, we're also going to be getting ready for live racing tonight at the track. Remo, can you confirm, did you win 3 or 4 bets last night? What the hell?
I gave 4. So Monday, I kind of went a bit off the board. I was trying for some big money, taking some under the radar plays, and it didn't work out. So I said yesterday, you know what? I got to rethink my strategy. I gave 4 picks. 3 of them won. My first pick of the night, it did not win. I forget what it was. It was some horse to win. He didn't win. But then I think it was race 3. There were only 5 horses. So I thought, I was like, okay, I'm taking an exacta, which is the horse to win, a horse to place. I nailed that. I also nailed the trifecta, the 1, 2, 3. So that I won big there. Not that big, but I won decently on my $10 total bet. I think it was came out to 25. And then I bet on in race 5. I had horse 6 to place, and he actually won that race. But the odds were still decent, so I did okay there too. So I came out pretty good. I was in the Assiniboia Downs chat on their stream, so 3 of 4 bets that I gave on this show won, so I got to give myself a Barry Horowitz.
Yeah, Furl
pat
Barry
myself on the
Horowitz for
back.
you. Very deserved.
Yeah.
And I know the Assiniboia Downs guys have been popping in. If you are going to be getting on HPI Bet, check out their YouTube stream. Really fun. They show the races. They'll give you some tips on it. Nice thing to have while on your computer, maybe while you watch the hockey game. All right, well, let's go, champ. What do you got tonight?
Watch out for me. Okay, here, let's bring it on. So this is this is not Assiniboia Downs. So you got to go tracks, star, and I have my Assiniboia Downs starred so I can get to it easily. So let's go race. I'll go race 4. Let me just see, race 4. I have a Quinella on 3 and 5. So that is Quincy Express and St. Louis Guy. They have to finish first and second in any order. That is a $10 Quinella.
Ooh, wow.
And
Okay.
race 5, I have a $1 triactor box on 2, 3, and 5. New York Prod, 2 terms, and Benroy. And those are the program selections as well. So maybe that'll be a bit chalky, but that's my selection there. So that comes up to $6 because you're getting every combination of them going 1, 2, 3 for $1 each. And then I have on race 6, I have a Quinella that is 1 and 2 in any order. On horse 5, My Last 20, and horse 8, No More Secrets. Those might be the best named horses that I have. So we will see. I'm looking forward to tonight. After Wednesday, my evenings are totally different with no live racing on at Assiniboia Downs.
Hey, you know what? It's been a super fun thing to do over the pandemic. And we sort of got into it last summer with nothing going on when Assiniboia Downs really was the first track, I believe, in Canada to get back on. And it really worked out well for them. That's why they went to the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. But I can tell you, and we'll get Darren Dunn on at some point in the near future to find out what the potential loosening of restrictions may mean. Because I tell you what, we want to get to the grandstand. We want to slap a program on the knee and watch the races live. And I'll tell you what, if we can possibly get back into that dining room, if you ever had the pleasure pre-pandemic of hitting the Assiniboia Downs buffet, it might be the best in the city. That dining room is incredible. So, and we will do a Winnipeg Sports Talk night as well. Get some food for people, kind of like what we did in the past on 1290, and get the gang out and have a great time, meet up out at Assiniboia Downs. All right, my picks for tonight are as follows, Reem. I have, let me just get these transactions out. Starting it off with race number 3. I'm on $4 to win for horse number 5. Race 4, I'm going with a $1 triactor wheel for $6 with 2, 5, and 6. So any combination of those horses in the top 3.
Trumpum. You've bet on Trumpum before.
Oh, okay, good. Trumpum actually did win for me, so that was when I was struggling earlier on. Race 5, we've got a $2 Quinella for 3 and 5. Race 6, I threw $2 on number 1 to win. And let me just see. We also have, and race 2, I've got a triactor, 2, 4, and 5. $1 triactor.
You've really spread it out.
A couple $6 triactors, a $4 Quinella, or $2 Quinella, and a couple win bets. So yeah, I figured I'm going to spread my 20 out over the course of the evening and take in all of it while watching Habs Vegas and everything else going on. Mm-hmm. So again, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Assiniboia Downs, hpibet.com. The site is amazing, super easy. You can watch it, and hopefully I'll have a better result today. Because again, much like horse racing, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. But let's just say I've got a few lengths to make up against my opponent in the duel at the Downs. Remo, what's going on tonight?
Vegas, Montreal. I don't know. I think I'm going to install, I got a mute light here. So when I muted, the light turns on. So I got that too. So I think I'll put that in. That's what I'm always making improvements to this. You think my work ends when the show's off the air? Please.
Definitely not. What do we have tomorrow? We've got Ken Wiebe returning to the program.
Yeah,
looking forward to that.
Ken Wiebe is on, and Justin Dunk from 3 Down
nice.
Nation has confirmed to me.
Yeah, there was a few people that were, really wanted us to ramp up the CFL talk. That'll get a lot more as we get closer to the season. I'm most interested, to be honest. So great to have Adam Bighill on, but hopefully getting Wade Miller on at some point to, talk about how ticketing is going to work. And I realize it's probably a little too early for that. There's still a lot of information that they need, but what the plan is as far as, for people selling season tickets, the people that have already renewed their season tickets, all of those issues. And we'll get to that as we get closer. But Dunk's been doing an amazing job covering the Canadian Football League for 3 Down Nation along with John Hodge. So looking forward to having JD on. We'll talk about all the latest in the Canadian Football League, the big issues coming out of this, and really focus more on this season than the big picture at what comes after this year. Bottom line is we've got football back August 5th, and the dream is alive for a full house for the Banjo Bowl and raising that Grey Cup banner. Remo, do you think the Habs have a chance tonight?
No. I mean, if Petrie comes back, maybe it'll be closer. Vegas, I mean, they're too good. We watched, the Jets Montreal games, and then you went and watched Colorado Vegas after. It wasn't even the same league. So I think it's going to be Vegas. Maybe Tampa will pull it out. So I was giving Montreal a chance, and now after one game, I'm like, I think you just got to ride Vegas here.
Hey, Rick Stockley saying, hey guys, I know there's a podcast available after, but can you please do a live audio only broadcast? YouTube while driving is very much always hit or miss. That is a challenge right now. And just with technology, I can tell you in the short term, that won't be the case, Rick, but there are some apps we're looking into that might give us the opportunity to also broadcast the live audio over some sort of an app that you can just have on your phone, which will be a little easier and probably chew up less data than YouTube. But many of those things are quite early on, as are we. So we are looking forward to doing that. And if we can do that, probably more so in time for next hockey season, that certainly will be an improvement that we're looking to do at Winnipeg Sports Talk for this and any subsequent programming we put out on the channel. Well, listen, great show today. Thanks to everyone for hanging out with us. Big appreciation to Adam Bighill for joining us and our pal DC over at the Bombers for making that happen. And Reid Fowler as well. Man, that was phenomenal. I mean, I know a lot of you probably are hockey first and then getting to those other things, but man, golf talk around the majors, especially this one, is a lot of fun. And I know there's a lot of you that are with us in the pool, so I'll wish you luck on that. Hit the link in the chat if you haven't gotten it. I think there's 4 spots left before we fill it. And it'll be fun to kind of check in on that over the course of the next couple days, especially because we won't have any horse races to pick coming up until next Monday. Thanks so much. Big thanks to policyme.com. Again, if you're going to policyme.com, simply fill it all out very quick. You'll get all the information that you need. Let them know that you showed up there because you heard about it on the podcast. Royal Sports. Go and pick up all that Euro gear right now. Can't tell you. Last look, Italy was up 1-0 over Switzerland in this afternoon's game. Nick and Nicky DQ Group, Not Autocorp, Little Brown Jug. Don't forget about that summer lager, everybody. Breezy Bend Country Club, Boston Pizza, Aikens Lake, Assiniboia Downs, and Coolbet.com. I'll fire out that Coolbet number, and if you are thinking about maybe putting a couple sprinkles on the golf, make sure to use the Winnipeg Sports Talk promo code. Enter WST for a 100% bonus up to $200 on your first deposit at Coolbet.com. I'll have a link for you at our Twitter at Sports Talk WPG. Gang, thanks so much for hanging out with us this afternoon. For those of you on the podcast, thanks so much. Hit us up with a review and a rating, 5 stars if you don't mind. And of course, everyone hit that like button while you're here. Make sure you're subscribed, and we'll see you tomorrow on Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Have a great night, everybody.
Oh my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.